My name is Lisa. Welcome to Cryptid Women's Society. This is our live on YouTube and Instagram. Hey, how are you? It's just me by myself today. Juliet has flown all the way over to Egypt. She is there, and you and I get to hang out together. Ooh, how exciting. So let me just jump into our Instagram and get this puppy sorted as well, and then we will be good to go. So 2 seconds. The Hodag versus the Bunyip is our topic today, which is going to be really cool. Thank you to everyone for jumping in and joining me today because, by myself, sad times. It is what it is, man. It's all good. Hopefully we get a few people joining us to come and have a party. I'm just going to set up on Instagram here. Thank you for waiting for me. You're the best. Let's just go save. We'll get back in there and get this Instagram kicking off as well. If you haven't seen our awesome new social media content coming out, please jump onto Instagram or TikTok. Or Facebook for that matter, Cryptid Women's Society, and we'll be on there. And you can check out our cool new content. I think the templates are really cool. I like them. I like them a lot. Cool. Right on. So we are live on Instagram now as well. So anyone floating over there, come, jump on in. To our live. I'm just typing a little jump into our live. Hodag versus the Bunyip. I found some really interesting information in regards to the Bunyip, which I think is pretty darn cool. And we'll be kind of just jumping into that and having a bit of a chat about it. And if anyone is floating about and you want to come and hang with me, please do so. Like, seriously, don't be afraid. Get in here. I'm just going to turn this guy's sound down. Cool. So we'll just wait for Instagram to pick up and see what's going on. And let me tell you about what I've been doing, what Juliet's been doing. Obviously, Juliet's not here. She is in Egypt. She sent me a message with a little video saying, I made it. I made it to Egypt, which is so awesome. She's there for 2 weeks with her son, Ricky. I had my passport ready just in case, but turns out he made it back from Bali and caught the airplane over. So good on him. It's fine. I didn't want to go anyway. I totally wanted to go. Totally did. But yeah, so that's cool. So she is in Egypt for 2 whole weeks. She will be producing content and dropping videos and doing some lives, little random lives whenever she gets a chance to do it. So keep your eyes peeled for that because it'll be so interesting to watch where she heads to. I know they're going to go to, they're in Cairo at the moment, and I know they're going to go to Abydos, which is up the Nile. And that is where the pyramids are with the, the hieroglyphs of the helicopters and the other flying craft that basically shouldn't be there. So I know they're going to go there. I know they're going to head to a couple of other temples or pyramids where they've been told there are hieroglyphs of hybrid creatures, i.e. cryptids. So they've kind of done a bit of research and found some inside knowledge on that one. So they're going to be heading there hopefully as well. And hopefully we get some really cool imagery. She's got a really cool piece of technology called WIDA, which essentially allows you to take a 3D image of things. And so I'm hoping she's going to go crazy town on that and use that a lot because you'd be surprised at what comes out on those sort of pieces of technology. You can get it on your cell phone. So fingers crossed, she kind of uses those ones to their full extent and we get some really cool images from and some cool content from Egypt. So that's real exciting. And maybe they may end up over in Jordan at Petra, and it all just depends on the conflict over there at the moment. But with with the new president of America, maybe that might settle down a little bit. Looks like it. So fingers crossed they get to travel and do all the things that they need to do. So super exciting. We'll just wait for Instagram to pick up. Anyone on Instagram watching, please share this so that I'm not by myself. I don't want to talk by myself. I'm gonna have a wambulance. Somebody call me a wambulance. Today we're talking about the Bunyip and the Hodag. They're actually really similar, strangely enough. So we'll jump into that and see if we can make a bit of a connection through there and see what your thoughts are. Hey Joel, how you going? I see History Pero is here. What's going on, fella? Long time no hear. What have you been doing with yourself? Give me the rundown, bro. What else have I been doing? Well, it's summertime in New Zealand, and summertime means beach time for us. And the beaches here are pretty dangerous. They've got a pretty massive undertow, pretty crazy rips going on. But we like to spend as much time at the beach as possible. So my son has just managed to score himself a job as a lifeguard, which is wicked. So he's going to be lifeguarding the pools. And I will be down the beach, probably paddle boarding and maybe a little bit of surfing if I can get myself that way. And it'll be super fun. And summertime in New Zealand is the best because, it's not like Australia where we have sharks. Well, we do have sharks, but not really sharks that are going to come up and eat you. You can go to the bush a lot. So we'll go on heaps of bush walks. And I plan on doing a fair few Bigfoot expeditions up the hill. There's an amazing range up the hill called the Tararua Ranges. So I'm planning on getting my booty up that hill as much as possible. Joel says he's been busy. Yeah, you've been doing bucket loads. Extraterrestrial hunting had a breakout of the US. Oh, break out in the US. Oh, cool, man. Well, not cool that you've got a breakout there, but that's pretty awesome. And I imagine, like, with all the disclosure stuff that's happening, well, and when I say disclosure stuff, I mean, it wasn't really an amazing disclosure, was it, as far as the congressional hearing went on the 13th of November? I thought it was pretty average. The information that came out on that is basically just the same old shit that's just been reverberated and regurgitated, if you want, back through the same funnel that it came out of in the first place. There was no real extra information apart from, oh yes, we think they're coming from the water. No shit, we know this already. USOs are a really big thing. It's just somebody needs to be held to, I don't know, like a firing squad or something to make them tell the truth. Will we ever hear the truth? Probably not. Let's be honest. We'll see. Anyway, we're here to talk about bunyips and hodags. Hey, Joel, do you know anything about the hodag? I do. I don't know much, but I know a little bit. So let me tell you from my very, very small, a little amount of research that I've done as far as what I know about the hodag. So the narrative goes that the hodag was a hoax, right? And it was hoaxed by a guy called Eugene Shepard. Now, everything that we know to be true is mostly called a hoax. So was the hodag actually a hoax? I don't know. Or is that just basically what he started saying because he was being given so much grief about it? Let's go into it and have a wee look at you. So jump in here. Tell me what you think. If I'm getting it wrong, tell me. I'm from New Zealand, not from America. I don't know. I'm from the South Pacific. I'm way down the bottom of the earth. So the hodag first popularized in the late 19th century by Eugene Shepard, a local lumberman and prankster, and we know people are called pranksters all the time. The moment that you have a Bigfoot sighting, all of a sudden, oh, he was a real prankster. It's a mythical creature described with a bizarre appearance: the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick, short legs with huge claws, and the back of a dinosaur with a long tail with spears at the end. Surprisingly enough, that is a very similar description to a few creatures that have been seen down in New Zealand and Australia, and I'll go into that in a second. From the information that I've gathered, its origins are tied to the harsh conditions of the lumber camps. Obviously, it takes a lot of work to be a lumberjack. It's pretty arduous work. It's hard hours, long hours, and you're away from your family, and you go a bit cray after a while, I imagine. It's become a legendary figure there. Some folklorists interpret the Hodag as a symbolic representation of the cruelty towards the oxen in the camps. Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. It does look a little bit like an oxen, but it also looks like these monsters and these beasts that we're seeing down in the South Pacific. I don't really want to call them beasts and monsters. They're animals or they're supernatural entities. So let's refer to them as that, eh? But the Hodag has become such a popularized creature that whole communities run off it, and we know about it in New Zealand and Australia. And the Hodag is a real famous folklore story, right? So what does he actually look like? And this is kind of what I was going into as far as like the Bunyip and the Hodag goes, right? So what does he actually look like? He's got a frog-like head with exaggerated and grotesque features. That's a bit rough. How do you know he's grotesque? Maybe he's the most beautiful Hodag out of the bunch. His face resembles a grinning giant elephant. His legs are thick and short and muscular, ending in enormous claws. The body, the dinosaur-like back with sharp spines running along its length. So spines all the way down its back, obviously some sort of a reptile or a dinosaur. The tail long, ending in pointed spear-like structures. So he's got spears on his tail, which is pretty cool. And if I was going to have a tail, it would be a spear tail. And he's got his general appearance, a fearsome and fantastical hybrid of various animals designed to evoke both awe and terror. So, I mean, like, if I saw him walking around, I'd probably be pretty shit scared. Let's find us a little picture of this guy. Hang on, let me find him. He is somewhere. Where did I put him? I'm going to find him. This guy here. See if I can just pop this picture up. There he is. So this is the Hodag. Oh, that's a terrible picture. Sorry, team. Let's just wait for it to pick up on Instagram. I've managed to get the lowest quality version picture I could possibly find. So pardon me for that one. I'll just see if I can find a better option of the Hodag. He's pretty cool, all things considered. I like him a lot. I think he is one cool dude. Look at him. I think he's lovely. Oh, I'm in the wrong thingy. Yeah, I'm in the wrong folder. There we go. Hang on. Let's see this guy here. So this dude here, I'll wait for him to pop up on screen here. So the Hodag is a really popular cryptid as far as cryptids go. He's got an entire festival. In fact, he's got 2 festivals wrapped around him, which is pretty darn cool. This is him. He's got a massive fiberglass statue out the front of the information center. And just look at him. I mean, like, if he was walking down the street or you bumped into him while you were logging, you'd probably poop yourself. But doesn't he look like a dinosaur? But surprisingly enough, he really looks like what we know as a bunyip. He looks, or versions of a bunyip. He looks like the Saracen monster, which was a creature that came out of the water in the Waikato in New Zealand. He looks like the Masterton monster, which came out, again, the water up into the bushland in Masterton, just up the road from my house in Wellington. He is very similar to lots of creatures that we see in folklore as far as cryptids go throughout the South Pacific. So thought that was super interesting. So I love the picture of this. The other really, really cool thing about the Hodag is he's just super popular. And yes, they have a whole heap of sightings. They have community stuff going on. So let's have a talk through that while this other picture pops up, maybe. Not quite sure what's going on with my picturing right now. Something's happening. Hang on, I'll just pop this one up here for you. There we go. There you go. He's in the newspaper. Check him out. I think you're famous when you make it to the newspaper, right? You know you've made it. Or on the back of a bus. Hey, Kels, what's going on, girl? Thanks for joining us. Thank you, thank you. We're just talking about the Hodag. And once I finish the Hodag, I'll tell you about Juliet's adventures, yeah? Cool. So the sightings of this guy, be it a hoax or not a hoax, let's go with he's not a hoax right now, and let's talk about real life adventures of the Hodag. So there was a couple of forest encounters near Rhinelander, which is where he was first seen. The first encounter that I've got is a camper in the 1950s claimed to hear strange growling noises. And when I heard that, I was like, well, it could be anything, right? And saw a spiked creature in the woods near Rhinelander. So all of a sudden he saw this spiked creature coming out of the woods. The description included a horned reptilian creature with glowing eyes. And yes, the Hodag is said to have these glowing eyes. Though no evidence was found. Of course not. It's the 1950s. Locals later speculated it could have been inspired by the Hodag stories around the campfire. Well, yes, it could have been, but what if he actually saw a creature in the woods? And we've talked about the Saracen monster in New Zealand. We've talked about being similar to the Bunyip and being similar to the Masterton monster. They all came out of the water, eventuated from the water, and then came through the forest. And literally, you know, there's these stories of these animals or these creatures taking on dogs, scaring the crap out of these dogs, these pig hunting dogs, and both of them, you know, running away sort of thing for this spiked monster. So as much as the mainstream narrative wants us to believe that it was a hoax, maybe there is some sort of, you know, validation in that and evidence in it. The other encounter that I've got is in a logging camp story, workers claim to have encountered a large beast with a dinosaur-like back and a spiked tail that attacked livestock. So we've heard this sort of tale as well many, many times of these dinosaur-like spikes with a spiked tail that attack livestock. The beast was said to be aggressive and left claw marks on trees far out. So that's crazy. I mean, like that could be quite easily the chupacabra story over in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of these types of stories coming through. Yeah, Kelsey, you're right. It looks like a cross between a stegosaurus and a Chinese dragon. Doesn't he, though? The Chinese dragon thing kind of made me go, all right, it's got like this real, I mean, like, look at the ears on him. He's got human ears, but he looks like he could well be a type of a dragon, right? And more importantly, like, we know that there's these animals that lived in like the likes of Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, around through Indonesia, and again, Kelsey, like you mentioned, up into China for sure, that were these giant, massive lizards, right? These huge lizards that are pushing 25 foot long from head to tail. They're massive, absolutely giant, and they are well documented. So how far-fetched is it to say that the Hodag in the States is actually a hoax, or it's actually some sort of a real? What did you say? The face is where I saw the dragon. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he looks like a Chinese dragon, right? 100%. I've got one more little story about the Hodag. Here's a modern day sighting. So 1980s, a group of hikers near Rhinelander in reported seeing a creature that they described as a mix between a bull and a lizard with protruding horns. So there are those giant horns coming out the top again. The sightings caused a local stir, with some associating it with the Hodag, and then obviously others saying it's a misidentification. I don't know how you misidentify something crazy that looks like a lizard and a bull. I mean, how do you misidentify that? You know, what are you going to misidentify it with? That's funny. One of the coolest things about the Hodag is all of the community stuff that is going on that's associated to the Hodag. And there's places around the world that take these cryptids on, take this folklore on, and turn it into just a real part of their community and what they do, right? And Rhinelander is definitely a place that's done it. And the Hodag is 100% part of their community. There are schools named after it. There are sports teams. There are 2 festivals, this being one of them, where everyone gets to dress up and do the Heritage Day, which is super fun and super cool. And I would love to go there. I just think that would be the coolest. And I really want to ride the bus. I'm just trying to find you the bus picture. Hold on, it's real cool. This is the other festival that they have. They have a country and western festival. Yeah, man. I'm like, gosh, I would love to go and do that. That sounds just like so much fun. I'm just going to find you the bus picture. They've got a Hodag bus. Check this out. Yeah, like lots of little monsters running around. I love it, right? And this is the Hodag bus. It's so cool. I would love to jump on this bus and go for a tour. And I think maybe that's something that Juliet and I will do. We were talking about popping over to the States at some point soon. So it might be that we've got to go to Rhinelander and go and experience their Hodag bus. Yeah. I love a good cowboy hat, girl. Seriously, cowboy hat, cowboy boots, happy times. And I did once have a dream that Juliet was doing a stand-up. She was a stand-up comedian. It was her first time out. It was her debut. And she was in a cowboy hat and cowboy boots in the middle of, I don't know, Arizona somewhere or something. And she was doing her debut as a stand-up comedian. And so maybe, and I'm just saying, maybe that is something that, I don't know, I'm just saying, maybe that is something that's in her future. She is quite funny. And in my dream, I was thinking to myself, far out. I never knew you liked comedy so much. I never expected you to be a stand-up comedian. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm totally doing my debut. So I don't know, maybe that's what she's going to be doing. Hey, Mike, over on YouTube today, what's going on, man? I'm not sure if you listened to our Hodag rundown. I hope I got it right. And I was just talking about a dream that I had that Juliet was doing stand-up comedy in America. So, oh, thanks. Kelsey says I'm funny too. I tell you what, I try. I think I'm the funniest person I know, but I'm probably not, let's be honest. So what do you think about the Hodag? Real or hoax? Don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Hodag story, and I haven't had boots on the ground to talk to enough people within that area, within that location, to really kind of decide whether or not that was a hoax or real. But I think there are so many connecting stories, right? There are so many connecting stories in regards to cryptids that you might see in one geographical area, and then these same stories of cryptids that you'll see somewhere else. And in our case, we're talking on the South Pacific, the southern hemisphere of the world versus the northern hemisphere. Now, all things considered, if you go with the main narrative of the way that the world has moved from Gondwana land and all of this sort of stuff. God, English. So if you're thinking of the main narrative of Gondwana land and how the continents have shifted and moved and how these animals may have shifted and moved with them, then potentially there was breeding pairs and all that sort of stuff that have shifted and moved, some down to the southern hemisphere, some up to the northern hemisphere. And our weather systems are quite similar and they could have evolved and adapted and all this sort of stuff. But to have creatures that are quite similar kind of blows my mind. And last week we talked about the ahu bat in Java in Indonesia, and we also talked about the connection between Mothman and Owlman in England in the UK. So you're talking totally different areas geographically, but very, very similar stories with some pretty similar descriptions and attributes. So yeah, pretty cool. Mike says he's got a few folks that I can talk to. I want to ride the bus. So maybe that's where I'm going to head to. Kelsey says, what a crack up name for that cryptid. Yeah, I know, right? The Hodag. I don't know quite where that name comes from. Mike, do you know where that name comes from? I think that'd be lovely. Tell us where it comes from. My vibration, mate, is off the charts. I tell you what, I am vibrating at a super high level. And it's all because Juliet has set me free. She's set me free because she's buggered off to Egypt and now I get to do it by myself. Exciting. So let's talk about the Bunyip. The Bunyip is Australian, it's Aboriginal, it's Indigenous, and I find it so intriguing and so interesting. When you talk about Aboriginal culture, you're talking about people that have been there 60,000 plus years. So National Geographic came out probably 6 months ago, released an article saying that on their chronological testing of coal that they've found and fire pits and things like this, they're able to respectively say that the Indigenous populations of the Aboriginal culture have been there for 60,000 plus years. Oldest civilization, right? So when it comes to cryptid creatures that are part of their storytelling, part of their makeup, part of their folklore, it gives credibility around the sightings and the descriptions and that sort of stuff. So let's go into the Bunyip because I absolutely love it. And there's some really interesting connections between the Hodag and the Bunyip. So let's see if I can make those connections. Tell me what you reckon. Is my favorite word at the moment. Right. Let's just pull this puppy down here. Righty-ho. So I found a really cool website. It's actually a New Zealand website. It's by Paranormal New Zealand or hauntedauckland.com. And it's a really, really great website if you're into learning a little bit more about Kiwi cryptids, about New Zealand paranormal stuff, about ghost stories, about UFOs, all of that sort of stuff. This is a great website to go to. And the fellow that runs this website is a guy called Mark Wallbank, and he is awesome. We love him. He's produced a couple of books. He's been on a few expeditions overseas, and I think he's just come back from a massive ghost tour through the UK. So he knows what he's talking about, and he's a really, really interesting guy. And hopefully at some point we get him on for an interview, maybe for our Men's Day Wednesday coming up. Kelsey says, I first ever heard of bunyips in a kid's storybook when I was 5. Yeah, mate, honestly, bunyips are everywhere. It's a very, very common story to hear from New Zealand and Australia, especially when you're young, right? Especially like children's books and that sort of stuff. Very, very popular. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into this website, Paranormal New Zealand or hauntedauckland.com, and I'm just going to read you a little bit about the Bunyip that Mark has written because it's really, really well written. So Just to give you an overview of what this supernatural entity looks like. The Bunyip, or the Kiamprati, is a large mythical creature from Aboriginal mythology said to lurk in swamps, billabongs, creeks, riverbeds, and waterholes. Billabong is just another word for a body of water, right? The origin of the word Bunyip has been traced to the Wemba Wemba, or the Wergaia language of the Aboriginal people of southeastern Australia. So just to put it into perspective, there's over 300 different tribes throughout Australia, and each tribe has its general language, and then there's also subvariants of these languages underneath as well. So there's far more than what the tribes have or what the mobs have, right? They call themselves the mobs. However, the Bunyip appears to have formed part of traditional Aboriginal belief and stories throughout Australia, although its name varied according to tribal culture. In his 2001 book, writer Robert Holden identified at least 9 regional variations of the creature known as the Bunyip across Aboriginal Australia. So that's 9 times that it's seen in different folklore in different tribes. Various written accounts of bunyips were made by Europeans in the early and mid-19th century as settlements spread across the country. So the word bunyip essentially means devil or evil spirit. However, there's no real word in Aborigine for devil, right? They don't really say devil. They don't really say evil spirit, essentially. So if you were talking, modern linguistic sources, basically the Bunyip or the Bunjil is a mythic great man who made the mountains and the rivers and the man of all of the animals. So essentially it's something of great power, something to protect the conservation of the land and the water, and to use the water correctly, because in Australia it's so desolate and dry in many areas. It's about making sure that the water is sustainable and looked after and maintained, because otherwise everything will die. And so a lot of those stories and legends and things like that come down to making sure that you're looking after your ecology correctly and not destroying stuff. So I know that the Bunyip is seen in numerous ways of potentially being a bad spirit, an evil spirit, or potentially being a good guardian spirit with a pretty gnarly temper on it, basically. So this is a really cool drawing of a Bunyip, potentially. You can see that he's got big giant teeth. He's got spikes down his back. He's got huge claws, and he lives in the waters. He does come out of the waters, and I've got a few stories to show that. Pardon me. But again, the descriptions already, there's 9 different creatures and folklore across the Aboriginal tribes throughout Australia that show that each one could be a bunyip. And so then you get these descriptions of it's got a head like a this and a body like a that and a da 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 da, and they're all totally conflicting. And really it takes time to go through each one and then talk to the elders and talk to the people that have had these sightings to really kind of work through it all. So yeah, super interesting, right? I love this picture. Very cool. So like Kelsey was saying over on Instagram, she had a book about it. Absolutely. There's been numerous books written about bunyips that are, children's books and that sort of stuff. And then there's a whole heap of historical books and that sort of stuff as well. I'm just going to go and pop down to here. It says the word bunyip can still be found in a number of Australian contexts, including place names such as Bunyip River, which flows into Westport Bay in southern Victoria, so down towards Melbourne, in the town of Bunyip, Victoria. So I thought that was quite cool. Descriptions of the bunyip vary widely, massively. Pardon me. These water spirits are seen around the Murray River, and there were stories about the bunyip before 1847, and most inhabitants around that Murray River space just dreaded seeing them. You never wanted to see a bunyip because they ate women and children, and turns out men as well, warriors, right? Common features of the bunyip include things like a dog-like face, dark fur, but it has been said to have feathers, a horse-like tail, flippers, and walrus-like tusks or horns, or a duck-like bill. So really, really different descriptions on the way through there. I've got an amazing story about the Chillicum bunyip, and we'll go into that in a second because I find that absolutely phenomenal. And there's a whole heap of accounts around what the bunyip, of sightings of the bunyip and that sort of stuff. So let me just tell you this one little story over here. Hold on a second. I've got a better picture for you. Bunyip, bunyip, bunyip. What about? Sorry, my computer is not helping me at this time. We're just going a little bit slowly, team. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Bear with me on that one. So this is some rock art of what they think is a bunyip, or what is said to be a bunyip from Aboriginal stories and elders. And you can see it's got teeth, it's got a horse-like head or something like that. It's got a large body and obviously 4 legs. And it's got some sort of fur or feathers or scales even potentially on it, but it's definitely said to have been furry or fluffy in some way. I love seeing these Aboriginal rock art. I just think that those are amazing. And one of the pictures I wanted to pop up and check out. Oh, hang on, wait, I've got another one first. So check this one, right? So this is what Kelsey was talking about as far as one of the storybooks go. So these are some of the stories that we were given as children. Al Bunyip, the Bunyip, which is an Australian story, which goes into the Bunyip's relationships and making good friends and all of those good things that you want your children to grow up to be. And he's all over the show. You can see that his description of, scales and feathers and fur and a horse-like tail and a duck bill. It's pretty crazy. But all things considered, sorry, Kelsey says, where did they get my picture of a horse? Yeah, I know, right? But they didn't even have horses. So quite interesting that it looks like that, right? There was no horses in Australia. They were introduced. So for them to draw something like a horse, I find quite interesting. And this story is really great. This is one of many very, very well-known picture books. But check this image out. And this was the one, this is an original image. This is obviously being colored. But this is an original kind of 1902 or something like that drawing that was made. And check out the similarities. Hold on, once this pops up here. Check out the similarities between this guy, which is a bunyip, and a hodag. Similarities, people. Let's just wait for the Instagram to pick up. Tell me the similarities, right? Check them out. Check them out. We'll just wait for Instagram to pick this picture up. Yeah, if you're watching and you saw the image of the hodag, this could quite easily be an image of the hodag, right? But it's not. It's an image of the bunyip, apparently. So check it out. Crazy. It's got the horns, like the bull horns. It's got the red eyes. It's got the ears, which was something that made me giggle because the hodag also has the ears. and he's got the big teeth, but he also has a mustache. And I think this is where the walrus comes from. It's this idea that he's got this walrus type face. Yeah, for real. So crazy, isn't it? And this was 1902, early 1900s. So yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you because I was like, there's a connection here, people. So. Oh, let's go and do some sightings. One of the earliest accounts relating to a large unknown freshwater animal was in 1818 when Hamilton Hume and James Meehan found some large bones at Lake Bathurst in New South Wales. This is in 1818, so before this picture was drawn. They did not call the animal a bunyip, but described the remains indicating the creature was very much like a hippopotamus or a manatee. There's no hippopotamus or manatees in Australia, and certainly not down in a lake. Just remember, it's a lake. A lake means that there's no rivers running into it. The Philosophical Society of Australasia later offered to reimburse Hume for any costs incurred in recovering a specimen of the unknown animal, but for various reasons, Hume did not return to the lake. It might be noted that, Diprotodon skeletons have sometimes been compared to the hippopotamus. They are a land animal, but have sometimes been found in lakes or watercourse. So yes, let's try and find a connection between dinosaurs and these creatures. Absolutely, there could be that connection there. There are many fossilized dinosaur bones throughout Australia. Another sighting of the bunyip is the first written use of the word bunyip. So bunyip's not, it's seen in many different ways. The word can be seen as quite a derogatory word. You won't find a lot of outback Aboriginal cultures using the word bunyip, but we as Westerners use it to describe it. So in July of 1845, the Geelong Advertiser announced the discovery of fossils found near Geelong under the headline, "Wonderful Discovery of a New Animal." Love it. This was a continuation of a story on fossil remains from the previous issue. The newspaper continued, "On the bone being shown on an intelligent black," thank you, he at once recognized it as belonging to the bunyip, which he had declared he had seen. On being requested to make a drawing of it, he did so without hesitation. The account noted a story of an Aboriginal woman being killed by a bunyip, and the most direct evidence of all, that of a man named Mumbawaran, who showed several deep wounds on his chest made by the claws of the animal. The account provided this description of the creature. The bunyip then is represented as uniting the characteristics of a bird and of an alligator. It has a head resembling an emu with a long bill, at the extremity of which is a transverse projection on each side, with serrated edges like the bone of a stingray. Oh God, that means that on each side of its bill or its beak, it had serrated edges. Oh, its body and legs partake of the nature of the alligator, so it looks like an alligator. Short, squat legs like the Hodag had. The hind legs are remarkably thick and strong, and the forelegs are much longer, but still of great strength. The extremities are furnished with long claws. Hodag, anyone? But the Aboriginals, say its usual method of killing its prey is by hugging it to death. So very similar to alligators, where they do the death roll. When in the water, it swims like a frog. so frog legs and that kind of breaststroking, if you will. And when on shore, it walks on its hind legs with its head erect, which means it's almost standing up straight, in which position it measures 12 or 13 feet in height. Far out. God, that sounds freaking scary. Shortly after this account appeared, it was repeated in other Australian newspapers. However, it appears to be the first use of the word bunyip in written publication. Jeepers! What do you think? God, that's horrendous. Oh, far out. So Mike over on YouTube says, what about a dugong? Yep, 100%. So dugongs have been seen around Australia, absolutely. And dugongs essentially were what they said were mermaids, right? What's his face? Columbus came over and said, was it Columbus or the other dude, Cook? There you go. Like I care too much about him and his bullshit. But James Cook came over and did a whole heap of writings in his journal to say that there were mermaids, and essentially then turned around and said, oh, they must be just dugongs, right? I think this thing that stands at 11 to 13 foot tall is probably closer to a giant alligator than a dugong. But can an alligator or a giant crocodile stand upright? No. So how does that make sense at all? But there are stories of, damn it, I can't remember what it's called, the giant lizards in PNG, right? So these giant lizards were found by, what's it called? This is so frustrating when you can't quite remember. Giant monitor lizards have a special name over there. And they start with an S, if that helps. But they were said to be kind of a middle ground of dinosaurs, if you will, and these giant monitor lizards, right? So these things were like 25 foot long. They could stand up on their hind legs, and they had this, big long neck, looked like a giant lizard, huge teeth, and those were documented by Christian people that go over and do their thingy. Oh God, English. I'm running out of juice, team. On missionaries and that sort of stuff. Oh Lord. And they also sent over a team of biologists and scientists to go and look for species in the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. And they had these sightings as well. And I remember one of the stories when we did our live on living dinosaurs. So if you haven't seen that, jump in there and have a watch, because it's bloody interesting. And we went into these sightings, and these biologists that were standing on the riverbed doing their kind of daily walkthrough had this encounter with this huge giant living dinosaur that came up to the riverbed, and they heard its feet crunching into the leaves, and they looked up and saw this massive giant lizard. And so could it be something like that? We know that there was an earth bridge between Australia and PNG, Indonesia, that connected it all. That's just scientifically proven that there was an earth bridge. And that was before all of the waters rose up and cut off Tasmania to the mainland, and also cut off PNG to the mainland of Australia. So we know, the Barrenjaw, which is essentially a T-Rex that lives at the top of Queensland, and the similar type of living dinosaur that lives at Murray Lake in Papua New Guinea as well. And they are very close in description, super, super similar. Was this the case with the Bunyip and the Hodag? Were they able to, before the last ice age, migrate up through these earth bridges and cross over at some point? I don't know. I find it very, very interesting. And one of the cool things that I found was a sighting of the Bunyip, but in almost an archaeological discovery. So really, really interesting. And I want to read this to you guys, and then I'm done. Okay, and then I'm done. And I appreciate you all hanging out with me and sticking with my crazy. I appreciate it. I haven't had enough coffee today to string a sentence of words together, so just bear with me on that one. So this is from a very cool website called anomalyinfo.com. And I kind of stumbled across this website when I was looking for this information and doing my research. And man, this is a good website. There's good information here. It's historical. It's pretty awesome. So what I'm going to do is chuck a picture up here, and I'm going to read a little bit to you just to help you out a wee bit, all right? So let's pop this guy up here. Upload. Here we go. So check this guy out. I'm going to read you his story, okay? So in 1851, the Chalcombe Bunyip. Europeans first heard tales regarding the Bunyip, a legendary water monster told of by the native Aborigines of Australia, sometime after 1788, when the first penal colony was established in that country. At first, the stories of the water monster were ignored as the idle beliefs of a lesser people. But as strange bits and clues turned up that seemed to confirm some of the tales, many of the settlers started to believe that the Bunyip was a real animal though misreporting by the natives. Seriously, we're going to copy edit this one, as more terrible than it likely was, right? So obviously they're over embellishing the reports and stuff. It's with this fairly prejudiced take on the whole matter in mind that all evidence put forth for an actual water monster called the Bunyip must be judged, right? So you've always got to look at this sort of information back in the 1800s, 1900s, because you have to look at it with discernment, right? The white people that came to Australia basically saw the Aboriginal people, the Indigenous people there, as far lesser than them, not quite enough brain cells, that sort of stuff, which is just disgusting and embarrassing to say the least. So one of the most famous bits of evidence, and sadly now lost, was first noted in 1851 in an article in the magazine Australasian. The article was called The Bunyip of Chalcombe, and no author was given for it, but the magazine was edited by a guy called George Henry Waltham, and it's now believed that he was probably the author because, in fact, he went back in and did some edits and bits and pieces as well. So in 1851, the article tells of a large figure of a bunyip cut into the turf near 3 deep water holes in a place called Fiery Creek, which at the time of the writing was 6.5 miles from Chalcombe Station. So basically it was cut into the earth in between 3 watering holes. Hence the name that was given to the figure, the Bunyip of Chalcombe. So according to local Aboriginal legend, and check this out, sometime in the past, one of the 3 water holes had been inhabited by a Bunyip. Apparently, a group of natives were near the waterhole one day when the Bunyip grabbed one of their grabbed one of their people and proceeded to eat him. The other men attacked with spears and managed to kill the beast and drag it out of the water. Though there is also a less exciting version of the story that says the men just found the Bunyip dead and that was it. But, you know, where's the fun in that? We totally killed him with spears. Chop, chop, chop. So in either case, this was such an unusual event that the men traced an outline around the dead creature, which was later cut out of the turf after the body had been removed. So in other words, they literally cut around the outline into the dirt to maintain it, right? Maintain the outline. This outline cutting of the Bunyip continued to be maintained by the local Aborigines on a regular basis from that time on, but because of a very different way of keeping track of time, the history on the part of the natives, the European settlers could never determine exactly how old the outline actually was, because obviously Aboriginal people didn't hold time like the Westerners did. In 1851, when the article was written, the author noted that the outline had become partially overgrown and it was now difficult to make out the feet and other extremities on the figure. But measurements set the figure as 28 feet from tip to toe, right? 28 feet. That is bloody enormous, to say the least. That is absolutely just huge, massive. So the next record I have of this Bunyip outline, as I already mentioned, comes from George Henry Waltham's 1855 book, The Golden Colony. The book details Waltham's travel in Australia in the late 1854, and on November the 25th of that year, he visited Chellicum Station and surveyed the Bunyip outline near it. After he briefly described being told the story above about the origins of the figure in the turf, he went with a friend to visit the waterhole and view the figure. Waltham states that while he was there, he sketched and measured it and then included the following illustration. I'm going to pop this guy up. So this was one of the illustrations that he took. Does look like a seal or a sea lion, but 25 feet. I don't know. Hold on 1 second. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Hold on. Hold on. You guys are doing great. So this is his image. Excuse me. So this is 21 foot from the chest of it through to the tail, right? 21 foot. It says the figure was still there in 1867 when Mr. R.E. Johns, who was clerk of petty sessions at Monabel, and who had a great interest in the art of Aborigines of Australia, he was able to acquire the sketch of the figure and a rough map, right? So essentially, this was drawn by Mr. Waltham, and he also made a map and a drawing of this Bunyip, essentially, right? And his map looks like this. So this does my head in, because I'm like, oh my gosh, can we actually, oh, I feel like I've lost you guys. Have I lost you? How do I get back onto you? Come back. Oh no, have I lost you? Can you guys still hear me? I can't see it all of a sudden. Team, are you still here? Oh, so you can still hear me? Okay, cool. I don't know what's going on with this thing, because apparently I've lost my video. I'm not sure what's happening here. And I want to show you this map. Damn it. Reload already. Oh, no. We're just getting into the good stuff. So there's this amazing map that was drawn by Mr. Waltham, and basically showing exactly where this carving into the dirt was, between these three water holes. And I'm going to post this up onto social media so you can see it. It's absolutely amazing. The biggest fumble as far as what we do as Westerners, we're so stupid. I can't refresh it. I don't know what's going on. Is basically what happened was they had this map. They had this amazing outline of what was seen as a bunyip. And then the European settlers moved in, and instead of learning about the outline and keeping it safe, they wanted to run their sheep on the land. And so basically what they did was they had a fence around it for a while. Aboriginal people were coming in and looking after it and keeping it safe. And unfortunately, oh God, I can't do it. And unfortunately, they basically came in and ran their sheep over the top and basically destroyed it. And yeah, absolutely gutted as far as that goes. And so super upsetting. They've run their sheep over the top of this massive artifact, cut into the land of Australia that was being looked after. Oh my God, did I manage to do it? Am I back? Am I here? Tell me that I'm here. I'm still live. I'm still here. Give me a wee little text message and tell me that I'm still here. Send me a wee little comment. Did I fix it? Ah, yeah! God damn it. Technology. I'm challenged. I'm so challenged. Oh, I love you, team, for hanging out with me. Thank you. So I want to show you this picture of this map, right? I got to show you this map. It's so cool. So just bear with me a couple of seconds while I get this picture up. Maybe if it allows me to do it. Oh, Restream. I'm gonna beat you up, Restream. You're annoying me now. Thank you, Mike. I'm sorry. Thanks, mate. Thanks for sticking with me. Just give me a couple of seconds, guys. My relationship with technology. Freaking tell you. Oh, Lordy Lord. I'm trying real hard. I'm trying real hard. Like overly hard, okay? I'm going to share my entire screen. Oh, jeepers. I'm going to pull up this guy here. Hold on a second. Tell you what, we're blimmin' going to get here if I have to just, there it is. Here we go. Can you see it? Here you go. Here's the map. This is what the map looks like. There you are. This is the map that Mr. Waltham drew. You can see it's got the three little water holes in the middle there. And this is where the outline of the Bunyip was dug into the ground. And I just find this absolutely astonishing where you have all of these anecdotal evidence, this sort of stuff. And these people obviously found an animal or a creature that was massive. They killed it. They drew around it. They obviously thought it was a bunyip. Yeah, it looks like a giant moa, right? Is this a moa or a dinosaur? Jurassic Park, as Kelsey says. What is this? Absolutely mental. I don't understand it. This is the first time I've even found this. We've been told a couple of amazing stories from some Aboriginal elders when we were in Brisbane about the bunyip, and images, photographic evidence that was taken and things like that I can't really share, but it just throws such an amazing umbrella around it of this supernatural kind of, could be a creature, a prehistoric creature that was, part of our world at one point. Whether or not it's still around, yet to be seen, but there's a hell of a lot of cave systems. You know, you look at the Loch Ness Monster, for example, there's a hell of a lot of cave systems throughout the world. We know this as fact, and we have only seen 5%, documented 5% of the ocean. We've only documented 15% of the Earth, of the terrestrial Earth. And so we know more about the moon than we do our own planet. And I think that's something to be said, right? You really got to I'm just trying to figure out how to get out of this. You really got to look at things with an open mind, because we just don't know as much as we should. We know very, very little about the world that we live in. And it's one of the beautiful things about studying cryptozoology, being in the ufology field, doing paranormal investigations, studying archaeology, history, ancient civilizations. You get to learn these things, and you get to deep dive into the connections that could be made. Because just because a scientist or a university sits there saying this thing is extinct, or this thing never existed, or this was a hoax, doesn't really mean that it was. And we know this from looking at such creatures like the thylacine, for example, in Australia. If you don't know what the thylacine is, you should definitely go and check that out. It's a marsupial that looks like a dog, but it's actually closer to a kangaroo that has stripes on its back. Seen as extinct, but many, many sightings throughout Australia. And I'm talking thousands of sightings. So, you know, it's an amazing, amazing space. Thanks, Mike, for joining us. Thank you so much for giving us your time, mate. You're the best. We love you. See you, buddy. Be safe, matey. And so it just shows you that there's many different creatures here that we just don't know about, and we should dive into all of them. And the Hodag's cool. The Bunyip is so cool and has so many amazing supernatural connections around it, where if it wants you to see it, it will show itself to you. It can shape shift and morph into whatever creature it wants and animal it wants to be. So yeah, just crazy. I love it. So interesting. Thanks so much for joining me. What a mess. Nobody ever said it was going to be smooth, okay? I never said that. Thanks everyone for commenting. You guys and girls are the best. Thanks for joining me. I'm by myself at the moment. Juliet is in Australia, is in Egypt, hanging out with the pyramids. So it's just going to be me and you for a while, okay? But please join me next week. We are talking about, what's next week? Next week is Lake Champlain Monster Champ versus the Taniwha. We have Taniwha in New Zealand. It's known as a guardian spirit, water spirit, all of these amazing things, but essentially as a sea monster. And Champ is the same. So super exciting. I'll try and get Katie Elizabeth on, because she is the top researcher with the Lake Champlain monster. So we'll see how we go. If you know Katie, tell her to come on. Love you all. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. Yes, please, Cal, send me a message. If there's anything you want us to dive into, send us a little direct message. Tell us what you think. We love the fact that you all join us and put up with our shenanigans. And thanks. All right, I got to get out of here. I will see y'all real soon. I am ending this live. Send me the love while I'm here. Do it fast. Hurry up. Chop, chop. Do it quick. You're going to run out of time. Hurry up. Send me love. Love you all. Have a cool night. See you later. Bye. Interesting. I can't close it. See ya.